What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and today I'm pleased to be joined by Dave Palumbo. He's the CEO of RX Muscle, the founder of Species Nutrition, and has been around bodybuilding for years now. Dave, obviously you were diagnosed recently with cancer, which is obviously extremely serious. How are you doing, I suppose? How are you holding up, and how things been, I suppose, in your life the past few weeks, after finding this out,
First of all, I got to correct everyone. My wife is the CEO of Species Nutrition. She does everything. I'm just the pretty face guy, who makes up the formulas. I always give her credit. You always got to give your wife credit, especially when they do great things like produce children and run businesses. But having said that, a lot of people have asked me how I feel, and it's physically I feel fine because I have no symptoms whatsoever. It's not like I have a sluggish thyroid or anything like that. I found it by accident. I went for a cardiac, ultrasound of my aortic valve for them to just check that out. And it just incidentally came back that I had this nodule on my thyroid. So there was really no symptoms. It was lucky I caught it. It's nice and small, obviously. It's a little close to the border of my trachea. So sometimes when they see something on the border like that, they want to remove the whole thing, and maybe give you some radioactive. The great thing about thyroid cancer, if there is a great thing about it, is that even if the cells kind of leave the area, so to speak, which we call metastasis, they're very responsive to radioactive iodine because thyroid cells incorporate or take up iodine. So they give you this radioactive iodine, and it will just destroy any thyroid cells anywhere in the body, So they don't usually, in my case, because it's such a small thing, a lot of times they may just take one lobe out and they might leave the other one in. But if they think it's touching the thyroid, the trachea at all, and that there could be a potential that there could have been a couple cells broke off, then they might just take the whole thing out and give me radioactive iodine and then put me on replacement. If they think it's not, because they can't tell till they get in there, they say it's not, that close, and it's really small, it's like a centimeter, then they may just take one lobe out and leave the other lobe in there. And then, we'll see, maybe my thyroid function will be strong enough that they won't even have to put me on replacement. So that's the option. So physically, I feel fine because I really have no symptoms. Mentally, emotionally, that's a different story because now, when you're told you have the cancer, the C word, as we call it, it can mess your head up, obviously, if you allow it to. Obviously, if they told me, I had liver cancer and I had 60 days to live, maybe I would be in a different mindset. But, they told me I have a cancer that's the most curable cancer out there. It's small. They caught it early. I have no symptoms. I feel good. So I'm trying to keep it a positive state. No one wants to go under the knife, and get your thyroid gland taken out. I'm trying to, in my mind, equate it to, okay, I had my gynecomastia taken out. Those are two glands sitting right here, pretty superficial, right? The thyroid's in the middle, so all right, now I'll have all three of those glands taken out. I'm trying to rationalize this in my mind, and not acknowledge that it's that serious, because I try not to take anything in my life too seriously. I try to look at the absurdity and everything and try to laugh at everything because I think that really life is absurd, and if you can't laugh at yourself, then I think that you're doomed to live a terribly miserable, negative life, and that's not the way I want to do things. Obviously, I think if you have a good mindset too, when you have something that pops up, disease-wise, it's a lot easier to overcome it as well. So I'm trying to stay positive about the whole thing. There's nothing really negative. The good thing is I'm in really good hands. A friend that I grew up with, he was my best friend throughout school. I've talked about this on my channel. He's my endocrinologist, and he referred me to a friend of his who's the thyroid surgeon who's done thousands of these things. And he was like, this is the easiest, this is the easiest case. Until he goes in there, he's not going to know that for sure, obviously, but he seems very confident. And so I'm doing everything I could do. So I'm not letting it bother me. Like I said, the worst thing probably is after I get the thyroid, if they take the whole thing out and I got to do radioactive iodine, I'm going to have to sequester myself. You can't be around people for 2 days because you're actually radioactive. So I'm going to be, poor Dave's going to have to stay in a hotel room with no kids for 2 days. You know me, I'll probably get more work done those 2 days than in any other in the history of the last 5 years of my life. And my wife will say you're on vacation, that kind of thing. So that's the update.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I know how you feel, Dave, with in terms of the kids. Like, I've got two little kids, and then
Yeah.
my partner has two older kids, so I've got four kids, and it's like it's just
Oh, that's right. Your partner has two kids of her own from before
yeah.
you. Oh my God.
So it makes things crazy for sure. And
How old are the other two?
they're 10 and 13, or 11 and 10 and 13.
Oh,
And
they're teenagers. Forget about it. Oh my
yeah.
God.
And they're at that age where the eldest is, going to high school and, trying to be cool and getting into trouble and all that sort of stuff. So it's like a totally different type of stress. They're self-sufficient for the most part, but
Right.
then, obviously you get the dramas. But anyway,
Do you get along well with them as the stepdad?
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things when you step in, it's like you don't know how much discipline and all that sort of. It makes it really tough to, I suppose, figure it out. But you sort of you get into the groove and go, okay, well, for those sorts of things that Tara, my partner, takes care of it, and certain other things I can say, hey, don't do that or whatever, But
you remember the days? Remember the days when you can sleep as late as you want? Remember when I came over your house that time? I actually, for people who don't know, I actually was in Tasmania, and I actually stayed in Xavier's house for one night. And we just slept. No one bothered us. You slept. I was in one room. Aaron was in the other room, and we got a great night's sleep. And those days are long over.
Yeah.
My kids wake me up at I got to go pee-pees, or I want to watch the iPad and play games. And Daddy, look at this. And I'm like, please, I've been asleep for 4 hours. Can I get 10 more minutes sleep, please?
Yeah. And obviously with us having 4 kids, like, my son actually has to sleep in my office. So like my office moves out into the other rooms because we're moving.
Oh, so you lost your office basically. Yeah,
basically. So, but I've got a thing now. He likes to watch, the kid shows like Paw Patrol and all that sort of stuff. So I put that on for him when he's in bed, when he wakes up. If he wakes up real early, I put that on my computer, and he'll sit there for an hour and just chill, watch, drink, and whatever.
That's good. That's not so bad. Yeah. My son is pretty good in the morning. Like he'll play, like he's into Super Mario Brothers now. He's really good at it. I don't even know how he figured it out, but he's good at it. My daughter she's, the iPad, Daddy, I can't get on the back. I said, I'm sleeping. Please leave me alone. And she's like right next to me with the iPad right in her face, But you got to love them, right? You can't.
Exactly. Yeah, it's for like all the little things that you're like, oh my God, I took for granted when I was.
Yes. Sleep was one of them for sure.
Yeah, but they're very much, you getting to see your own kids grow up in your own blood and flesh. It's like a totally different thing that you can never sort of, I suppose you can, for all that we might complain about certain little things, it's all sort of worth it in the end. But I suppose, how did your family react? I suppose, how did your, wife Amanda and how everyone react when you sort of told them? Because obviously you're a very public figure. You came out, put the video out online. Were there people finding out that were close to you for the first time? Because it's hard to ring up and say, hey, I've got cancer. Hey, I've got cancer.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. Obviously, my wife knew because I told her. My friend was there when he called. I get the text from my friend, and he's like, "Give me a call." Now, I knew right away I had cancer because I said, "You know what? If there was nothing, he would have just texted me, 'You're fine. Don't worry about it. Call me later if you want." Yeah. But he didn't. So I called him. So she was right there. So she heard. Everyone else found out on video. Literally, I just went and I said, "I'm recording a video. I'm putting it up. I don't want to call everyone." So of course, all my really, really close friends were like, "You didn't call me?" I'm like, "I got a lot of close friends." I said, John Romano's like, "Yeah, I had to find out on Instagram that you have cancer." I said, "John," how many people am I going to call? I said, "It's not." I didn't really want to talk about it that much. I actually wanted to just put it out there, and here it is. Because like when I grew up, my mother had cancer. My mother died of cancer, of pancreatic cancer, and it was like a horrible 2-year battle. And no one talked about it at all. It was like hush, hush. Even my mother didn't know how bad it was. From what my father told me later, they were like keeping it a secret from her because they didn't want to tell her how bad it was. So it was like so secretive that it was like I just used to leave the house. I would just go to friends' houses all the time. So I always said, if I got anything happen to me, I'm going to be fully open and transparent about it because, first of all, I might be able to help other people since I'm a public figure. Secondly, I don't want to hide. I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, we didn't even know he was sick. How did he die like that?" Like the Black Panther guy. No one even knew he had cancer. So.
Do you ever think that in terms of people that have you ever analyzed or thought about the way people, I suppose, emotionally deal with cancer? Do you think that maybe people would, if they didn't find out they actually had cancer, you obviously found out by accident. If you hadn't, certain people that find out, I think they think, "Oh, I'm dead now." And they sort of, I suppose, manifest that. And maybe some people that don't find it for years, then they find it and then, they might go downhill then, but they'd actually survive longer without it. I mean, do you think I suppose, you know, in terms of success, in terms of beating cancer, do you think it leaves clues, and have you looked into that?
You know, I always said that I wouldn't allow cancer into my life because I was, you know, had this mindset that I'm not going to have it because I know my mother, everyone on my mother's side died of cancer. And I'm like, I'm not going to, and I believe that it was all that a lot of the cancer comes from doing things, having emotional blockages and doing things that you're not happy doing. And, you know, maybe your life is not what you wanted it to be. You didn't. So that's why I lived my life the way I did. I could have taken the conservative route. I was in medical school. I had one more year. I could have finished, right? If I would have finished, I would have been a doctor, but I didn't really want to do it. And I said, and I was tired, and I hated the hours, and I didn't like working in the hospital. I'm like, you know, and I was really getting into bodybuilding at the time. I'm like, you know what? What if I die at like 25 years old with cancer? Fuck this. I'm not doing it. I said, I'm going to live my life on my terms, and I'm going to do only the things that I want to do. I'll give 100% to it. I'm not going to be a lazy bastard, lay on the couch and say, oh, who cares? But I'm going to only do the things that I want. And that's exactly what I did my whole life. I didn't get menial little jobs that were kind of bullshit. You know, I had two jobs my whole life. I was a movie usher for 6 weeks. I got fired because I let my friends in the back door. And I worked at a pet store for 8 weeks one summer. And that was it. And I only did it because I really liked it. But the truth is, you know, I got involved in bodybuilding. I got lucky. I was able to make money. You know, I made some bad choices, obviously, you know, with selling some drugs and, you know, along the way. And I did my time for that. But it was all on my own terms. I didn't have anything and no one could blame. I didn't blame anyone but myself for everything I did. And I always applied a tremendous work ethic to everything I did. But I did things I liked. And I felt, you know what, there's no way I'm letting cancer into my life because of that. It's not coming to me because I'm open. I'm like doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm letting the energy flow into me, you know? And then, you know, I get this diagnosis. Now, obviously it was found by the whole cascade of events that led up to, you know, me finding out this and some of the other medical little silly weirdnesses that I have. It's like, there's like an angel sitting on my shoulder, okay, saying, buddy, check this out. So I think that obviously because I'm doing the right things, and maybe I needed to confront cancer because maybe that's the one thing that I'm not really afraid of death. I was afraid of cancer though. I don't want to die of cancer because I saw my mother miserably suffer. So if I don't wake up one day, I wouldn't care because I know that my consciousness is eternal. I'm not going to disappear from creation if my body dies. But I didn't want to suffer with cancer. So I think I needed to confront the cancer word, so to speak, and understand what it feels like to have that diagnosis so that I could better empathize with other people who have had the diagnosis. Because you know me, I'm like a problem solver for people. That's what I like to do. And in our industry, I solve people's diet problems, health problems. Most bodybuilders call me first before they call their doctors. And they say, look, this is what's going on with me. Should I be worried? And then I tell them either no, or get this test done, or you go see a doctor because yes, you should be worried, you know? Yeah. So I like that role. So I'm, in a sense, I am a doctor. I'm just not a doctor in a conventional sense that you would, you know, that you would go in an office and visit. I do it on my own terms, so to speak. So maybe I needed to experience what it was like to have cancer so I can better, once again, be able to empathize. Just like, you know, when I do diets, just like if you do diet for someone, I can relate to what these people are going through, the starvation, the how they feel, you know, sitting in a computer chair hurts their butt because they're so lean, because I did it, you know. How can I be a good guru and a good contest prep coach if I never dieted for a show? You know, it would be ridiculous. So that's my life. I need to experience things, I guess. And that's how I've rationalized what I have. If you want a better answer.
And now obviously you're talking
other people can't do that though. Other people look at the negative side of it. Oh my God, I have cancer. I'm doomed. I'm going to die. You know, this is the worst thing. Why go on? I'm just going to sit home. I'm not going to work. That's that me.
Yeah. Is it hard to find that balance between, obviously you work really hard. You're doing this at what time of the night? Like 2 o'clock or something like that.
2 o'clock in the morning, yeah.
Which is, you know, like pretty crazy, but you're been like that. You've been a hard worker, and you know, I learned a lot of hard work from you. You know, when you would go to shows and tag people, and you know, do all comments
Scream
and
like a maniac
and stuff. Yeah. And I learned that from you. And I remember when you came over to Australia, I was like, I wanted to impress you. I was like, okay, cool. So I was actually staying up, and my girlfriend at the time was like, oh my god, you need to go to sleep. And I was like, no. And I was falling asleep. Photos like that. I'm like, nah, I'm getting it done. And it was like 4:30 in the morning. I was absolutely exhausted, but it sort of like taught me that hard work ethic. Now, obviously with this prognosis, you know, like, you know, at least getting some sort of rest is important. How do you manage that now with RX species and everything you have going on?
And all the snakes I breed now. I don't sleep that much. I gave up sleep. I used to sleep 8 hours a night. I sleep 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours a night, and sometimes less. Some days I get lucky. Sometimes on the weekend I'm so exhausted. I'm just like, you know what? Saturday night I'm just going to bed early. I don't care. And because what I do is I put my kids to bed if we're lucky by 11. Everyone else's kids go to bed 8 o'clock. Mine go to bed at 11. And I lay on my daughter's floor. She's got a mattress on the floor. She's in the bed, and I just lay on the mattress until she falls asleep. And most of the time I fall asleep. Sometimes it can be for an hour. Sometimes it can be for 2 hours. And then I'll usually drag my ass up. My wife doesn't know how I do it. I'll go in the other room and I'll actually work out. I'll go downstairs, have a shake, and then I start working on my computer and doing emails. That's exactly what I did tonight. So other nights, you know, if I'm just utterly exhausted and I just can't do it, if I know earlier in the day, I'll try to get all my emails done as much as I can. And then I'll just crash, and I'll literally sleep from 10, 11 o'clock at night to the next day. And then I'll catch up a little bit. But that's the one thing I'm missing. I had to say to myself, look, if I want to do all the things I want to do and do them well, I have to give up something, and it was sleep. And so I gave up sleep. I hope it didn't cause my cancer. That's the one regret I have about doing that, because I know not good for your immune system not to sleep. But hopefully once my kids are in school and it's, I don't know, hopefully they have a better schedule, maybe I'll be able to sleep more.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of treatments for this, like what are you doing outside of, the traditional, obviously, operation to get this cancer cut out, or the whole thyroid or whatever?
Right. I'm using Thor's hammer. I'm channeling the power of the gods. Now, it's, I'm doing a lot of stuff. A lot of people have sent me cool vitamins and herbs and stuff. I'm a big ozone person. I used to do ozone therapy 15 years ago. I was trying to see if I can show you this, but I have an oxygen tank to my left here with an ozone machine. I ozonate water. I do ozone IVs now. That's the new thing I'm doing to hyperoxygenate my body, because cancer, we know, doesn't grow in a very high oxygen environment. I'm also alkalinizing my body. When I wake up in the morning, I do a teaspoon of baking soda in usually like some kind of alkalinized water, and I drink that down. And then I don't eat for 2 hours. That's something new I've been doing. And luckily, some people get the poop from it. It makes them poop. It doesn't do that to me. Excuse me, burping. I'm drinking water. So I've been doing that. I've been doing pancreatin that Anthony DiPasquale, who's Mauro DiPasquale's nephew. He's into a lot of alternative therapies. Pancreatin is like a combination of, they get it from pigs. It's like the digestive, it's not just the pancreatic, it's all the pancreatic digestive enzymes. So it's like amylase, lipase, and protease in one formula. And you take it in between meals, not with meals, to help with digestion. Supposedly, if you take it on an empty stomach, it gets into your bloodstream and it can dissolve and digest, growths and cysts and all that stuff. He swears that there's been people he's helped and worked with that have actually had complete cancer nodules disappear. I don't know. I'm taking it. I'm trying it. I'm using a whole host of others. I got someone sending me, another guy, the ozone guy who I'm friends with, Blake Miller. He's sending me these, it's like a liquid drops of this potassium iodide. Supposedly, if you take high amounts of very absorbable iodide, it will help with cysts on the thyroid. I don't know if it's going to help with cancer. He swears if I rub it on that area, it's gonna make it go away. Plus, these drops he's got to help oxygenate the water even more than the ozone machine is. So I'm doing a million different modalities. The thing that sucks is I can't take my vitamins now the way I want to, because 2 weeks before surgery, you can't take vitamins because you can bleed, and I'm a bleeder because from all the fish oils and vitamin E, it's like an anticoagulant. So I haven't been taking as many vitamins as I normally do because I'm trying to. Right now, I'm tentatively scheduled for surgery on April 6th. But if there's a cancellation before that, they'll squeeze me in, and that's I usually that's what happens. So like I said, I'm going the conventional route of removing the thyroid. You know why? Because I don't want the cancer in my body. If it was spread and I didn't have an option like this, then I might think about alternative therapies. But to me, it's a no-brainer. Take the fucking thing out. It's a little nodule. Don't give it a chance to spread. Because if I leave it in there and let's say my therapies don't work and the thing spreads, now I caused myself to have a tumor that's in other parts of my body, So I don't want to do that. I'm taking it out, and then I'm going to still continue to do these modalities to keep my immune system well and functioning well, because I'm going to be alkalinized and I'm going to be oxygenated. So if there is a propensity for my body to want to make more cancer cells somewhere else, which I don't know, obviously, we're going to try to negate that. That's my strategy right there.
Yeah, and it sounds like a pretty sound one as well. I mean, in terms of a lot of the conventional treatments for cancer, when it's non-operable, then obviously you're looking at the harsher stuff like the chemotherapy and the radiation, and things like that, which obviously take a massive toll on your body. So it's, I suppose, the operation side of things is probably a lot better. I mean, in terms of
Yeah, and even the chemotherapeutic approach where they give, or the radioactive approach, they're not hitting you with radiation. They're giving you a pill. And you do a dose of, actually what they do, it's pretty interesting because iodine is taken up by thyroid cells in response to TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. So a lot of times, when they take your thyroid out, your TSH levels are not high enough to necessarily. So what they do is they actually give you TSH, synthetic TSH. Like they give you a dose one day, the next day they give you another dose, and then the third day they give you the radioactive iodine. All that TSH in your body will drive that iodine into any tissues that are thyroid related, if there's anything left in your body, and it will just destroy those tissues. And so you're wiping everything. You're basically wiping the slate clean, so to speak. Now, you only do that if you think that the thing might have spread, if it's in a lymph node, or if it's touching a margin of another organ. Like I said, so if my thyroid nodule is a little too close for comfort to my trachea, then they'll do it. So they won't know until they go in.
Yeah, and what you mentioned about pancreatin as well. I actually had a partner that passed away when she was 20 years old. When I was 20 years old, I was with her since I was 16, and she had a very extremely rare form of cancer. It was called rhabdomyosarcoma, and actually starts.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So yeah, extremely, I think the relapse rate is huge, and she actually did get rid of it, and they were shocked because when she first went in there, she got rid of it completely when she first went into hospital, because she had a lot of back pain, and then she started getting really nauseous. And I said to her mum, I said, we need to go to hospital. Like, she's vomiting every night, and she's got cancer. We know she's got cancer, and you could see the lumps on her neck, and you could see them daily getting bigger. It was crazy. And when she actually had a full body scan, her whole upper body, you could see the spots all over her upper body where, in the lymph nodes and everything.
How did you deal with that? That had to be tough for you, right?
I was only, I think, 18 at the time, 17 or something. Oof. So it was a shock. But she was in hospital, and they had to drain her back. As soon as she went in there, they said, she saw a doctor and said, you need to go to hospital right now. And we're just like, what? Like, we were sort of in shock. We thought she had cancer, but we didn't think it was that serious. She went there, and they put a tube straight in her back and drained out like a liter of fluid straight away. Like, it was just shocking. It was like, and I was seeing this happen. They had to put her on oxygen, and they smashed her with chemo for 2 weeks, and then you could see the lumps going down daily. She actually got rid of it about 8 months later. I think she had about 7 months, came back. She lived another 9 months, but they said when it came back, could be a weeks or days or months or something. And it was 9 months later, but she actually started shrinking it again. And we were doing a very aggressive, nutritional supplementation sort of thing, because they said at that point she was terminal. They said, you're not going to get rid of this. She was taking pancreatin, and they were shocked that the tumors were actually shrinking. They thought they'd just sort of, stop them from growing as aggressively, but they actually shrank quite a bit. And I believe a lot of it was actually to do with, taking pancreatin and all these other supplements and doing this real aggressive therapies. And, I think it actually improved her quality of life as well. Like, it was but it did improve things. So I think there's definitely something to it in terms of those alternate therapies. So I had a lot of people tell me, don't get surgery, do these therapies and get rid of it. And I'm like,
you know what, I can't risk it. I just can't. I have three kids. I can't do it. You know, maybe if I was single, I'd be like, you know what, let's take an experiment, because thyroid cancers grow very slowly and they're pretty curable. And the truth is, the doc said I might have had it for 2 years and not even known about it. So, but I can't risk it. Like I said, I have 3 kids. You know, I got to go and get it out. Plus, you know what, I'll always be thinking, oh my God, is it getting bigger? You know, that's not good for my mindset to know it's in there. You know.
Absolutely, for sure. Now, everyone has sort of talked about the benefits of, you know, like marijuana, like CBD, and CBD gets a lot of publicity now. And just in Australia, we've just made it legal to sell CBD oil, but there's no products out there because the TGA have to approve it here, which is the same as the FDA in America. But, you know, what's your thoughts on, I suppose, like, you know, CBD, THC, marijuana in general, in terms of, you know, do you think it's good just for stress, or do you think it's actually can treat these sorts of diseases?
Who knows? To be honest with you, I think for a lot of people, it's a stress relief. I don't like the way I feel on THC. I'm not a big man. I probably smoked pot like twice in my entire life. I don't really like the way I feel. I feel stupid on it. I don't like anything that dumbs my brain down a little bit. So there's so many therapies and treatments out there. That's not one of the ones I'm going to try. Just, you know, but I understand, you know, if you have to do chemotherapy, THC reduces the nausea tremendously. You know, I remember my mother when she had to do chemotherapy, they were smoking pot, her and my father, because it was greatly reducing the. So I think for that purpose it's good. But there are people who swear that the stuff cures cancer. I don't know. I would think that if it did, there would be more people out there promoting it. But I probably won't try that modality just because I don't think it. You know, the best way one of the ways to actually increase the endocannabinoid system in your body is essential fatty acids. Believe it or not, if you took like enough fish oils and evening primrose oil and all that stuff, and you actually raise your endocannabinoid system quite a bit. But that, you know, they're really feel good. You know, they're the feel good, you know, system in the body. So I don't know. Maybe they're immune enhancing, because, you know, your immune system works better when you're in a good mood. That's why I say the mindset of this whole thing is really important. You have to have a strong mindset and really believe that you're gonna, you know, that you're gonna get past this, and don't stop doing the things you like to do. That's the biggest mistake people make, because that's what gives you pleasure. That's what keeps everything working well in your body. So, you know, some people need crutches or tools to help them achieve certain mental states of feeling good, and that's fine if that works. Look, I think antidepressants could cure cancer too, because, you know, if you feel depressed all the time, you can create your own cancer in your body. I believe that. And so if an antidepressant helps you to feel good and be able to get out of your house and do things, then to me, that's another anti-cancer preventative, if you want to think of it from that perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing I wanted to touch on with this. I know you've done ayahuasca before, which is, you know, a whole ceremony thing. I think you even did. Was it in Brazil that you did it?
No, I didn't do it in Brazil. I did it in New York once, and I did it in California once. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. Have you looked into any of that sort of stuff? I mean, you know, I read a study the other day about, you know, mushrooms and stuff and their effect on, you know, more, like you said, the mindset and depression and stuff like that with, you know, it wasn't terminally ill cancer patients, but it was life-threatening cancer patients. Right. It said, and I think the study was only on 50-something people, but, you know, I think it was like 80% of them, you know, basically said, oh, you know, it helped me a lot, you know. So have you looked into any of that sort of stuff in terms of treatment? Or
no, but I'll tell you something about it, because ayahuasca opens you up spiritually. It allows you to almost leave your body and look down upon yourself and psychoanalyze yourself from a point that's outside your body. So you're no longer, your ego is no longer connected. So you're not like, you're actually looking at yourself like you were looking at someone else, basically, and saying, oh, that's why I feel this way. This is pretty fucked up why I feel like this. And you start getting these aha moments about, like, all right, this is why, what an idiot I am to feel this way. You know, so it's like someone's like shaking you and say, hey, buddy, look, I mean, this is, but it's you doing it. And I think that a lot of cancers are very emotional blockage, you know, geared. In other words, you have this blockage, something that's blocking you not doing something that you should be feeling you're doing. You're not living the life you feel you should. You have this pain because you never go out over the death of a loved one, or whatever the case may be. There's some blockage inside you emotionally. It's not a a physical blockage. It's a spiritual blockage. And because the energy is not flowing properly in your body because of this blockage, you get cancer sometimes. So I think in those people who just can't get past that, if they go and do an ayahuasca ceremony or other mushrooms or whatever they tend to use as their tool to get there, ibogaine, they leave their body and they're able to open these blockages up if they do the work. It's tough. It's not, people think taking ayahuasca is like going to a club and doing MDMA. It's or ecstasy essentially. It's not a fun ride. It's a lot of emotional work and it's exhausting, but it opens you up. And that's the way I felt. When I did the second ayahuasca ceremony, I said right after I finished it, I don't need to do this anymore. And it wasn't that I didn't want to do it. I knew that I had gotten whatever I needed to get out of me, or whatever brilliant insights about my life I needed to see. I saw them. I've also gone to other places. I went to John of God in Brazil, and that was a very similar experience without the drugs. It's just a very spiritually enlightened place. I've done these intense yoga class like experiences too, where they open you up supposedly, because I was very scared of that, because I had never dealt with the death of my mother. It was a for 25 years I didn't deal with it, and so I was worried that was going to get me. I have a blockage here. I haven't dealt with the pain of it and the acceptance of it. I kind of just bottled it up and blocked it out and threw the key away. So that was the last thing. And I dealt with that like 10 years ago. So I feel good in the sense that I think I'm open, at this point. I think my energy is flowing. So, but you always need little tune-ups every once in a while. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it now just because I have 3 kids. I wouldn't be doing these crazy ceremonies, unless I had something extremely wrong with me. Like if I was for God forbid I was terminal, I had cancer all of my body, I would be going anywhere and everywhere and trying everything. But at this point, I have limited time, so I'm trying to really focus in on health, wellness. The funny thing is that I do so many things, health-wise already. It's like, aren't I healthy enough already? Come on, man. But there's always another level you can take it to. And the level I'm at now is not something you would sustain yourself on. You wouldn't be doing this. It's just to get yourself better, get the immune system back in line. If it is out of line at all, who knows? It could just be a genetic thing that happened to me. I don't know. And then once I get over this and I'm cleared, and what I'm going to do is, once I get cleared, I'm scanning my entire body, to be honest, because I'm a little unnerving about, because you know what? I think my mother had a thyroid issue. I don't know if it was cancer, but then she got pancreatic cancer, 10 or 15 years later. So I still have that in the back of my head. You know what? Maybe it's a genetic thing. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I'm not going to live my life in fear.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dave, I think you're going to be inspiration for a lot of people that have either gone through or going through this, same sort of thing. Because like, even for me, like me seeing you, I'm looking at RX Muscle right now on YouTube, and there's more videos than ever going up the past like 2 weeks since you've been diagnosed with cancer. This would take normally, on a lot of people, this would take a toll emotionally, and they would feel sorry for themselves and go into that sort of thing, and they wouldn't be working as hard and stuff like that. You're almost going the opposite. I'm seeing more content, so that's a credit to you.
For 2 hours I felt that way when I was driving home from Miami, and I said, I'm not going to do this. And I went home and I went to sleep early that night. I woke up the next morning. I'm like, wow, I feel great. Time to make some videos. So, like I said, it's my work. And I know you feel the same way about your work. My work is not work. I enjoy it. So I do it because it's like, oh, this gives me pleasure. Let me do more. I'll get more pleasure out of it. And it's like it's a cycle like that. The problem is I have so many interests now that I added my kids to the list of obviously they're the most important. And then I have, I breed snakes, boa constrictors, and ball pythons and carpet pythons. And my collection is enormous now. It's growing out of control. And so that's another whole business. So I'm all over the place. But you know what? When the day you become bored and you don't know what to do with yourself, and there's a lot of people like that out there, by the way, that's when you're doomed. So I'd rather be too busy than I have nothing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.